sit by my side. You've got a sad look in your eye. Don't let them pull you in tonight.
Hi, I'm John from Just Another Horror Podcast, and welcome to this episode of Fright Bites. I'm supposed to be doing one on the Mountain of the Cannibal God, but I think we need to address Halloween Ends. Boy, the internet sucks. I want to say that Halloween Ends, I think, will affect you differently. It's almost like drugs. It'll affect you differently depending on what kind of person you are, what kind of things you're looking for in your movie, what kind of experiences you've had in your life. There are so many different things about this movie that will make people feel differently about it. I have a horror podcast, so I watch horror movies constantly. I don't want to gatekeep. That's not the point of this review. I don't think that somebody who likes it or doesn't like it is any less or more of a horror fan. That's not how it works. The horror genre is so huge and so varied that it's possible to like different things. In fact, it's very likely that at least a few of your favorite movies are not liked by other horror fans. This movie is divisive, I think, for the wrong reasons. I think it's very easy to look at a Halloween movie and think it should be a certain way. But it doesn't have to be. Halloween 3 already set the groundwork for Halloween movies that are lacking Michael Myers. And let's talk about that first. Michael Myers is in this movie for a longer runtime than the original. So, and the original, by all accounts, is the best in the series. I disagree. You'll find that out by the end of this. I think the original Halloween is a fantastic movie. I really do. And up until this trilogy, I think it was easily the best movie in the series. I think there are good movies in the series. I think there are failed opportunities in the series. And I think the series reaches depths at certain points that are so low that for anybody to say Halloween Ends is the worst in the series hasn't watched the whole series. The two goofy cops in part 5 come to mind.
All clear.
Nothing above, nothing below.
What about Max?
Adobe, right?
This is not happening to me. Max! Max, what have you done? I'm so embarrassed.
It's what we're here for.
Rescue cats.
Find dogs.
That's a job.
And we love it.
Buster Rhymes drop kicking him out a window comes to mind.
Oh, shit, man. Charlie, where the fuck you been at, man? Don't you know we've been looking all over this motherfucker for you? And why the hell you dressed like me anyway?
I don't even like Halloween H2O. I think that movie is boring as shit. So let's talk about the lead up to this movie. Because I think one of the ways that you could enjoy this more is to watch Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends back to back to back. It makes Halloween Kills better, that's for sure. Halloween Kills is a movie where you literally get everything that the people who don't like Halloween Ends wanted. It is Michael Myers murdering the fuck out of everybody, seemingly for no reason. Like he's just murdering. And I think that's what people wanted. They didn't want a motive. They never wanted a motive. They just want this guy in a mask stabbing people in creative ways. And he does. Some people who watch that didn't get it. Like, he's old. Why is he still doing that? In fact, he's more strong now. That doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think what you need to do before you criticize Halloween Ends is go back and look at what you said about Halloween Kills. What did you say? Did you like it? Did you think it didn't make any fucking sense? Did you get upset that people were chanting evil needs to die or whatever?
Evil dies tonight!
Enter Halloween Ends. The credits look like Halloween 3. I think right away, you should pretty much know what's going on here. When it starts out with Corey, the main character, in the house, you probably are thinking what I was thinking. Michael Myers is in this house, but that's 2019. Why would it start like this? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but okay. And then what happens with the kid, where he falls out of the trap door, and you realize this isn't going to be that kind of movie. And then a half hour into it, and you realize this isn't going to be a slasher movie. And then it ends up being sort of like one later. But it was a half hour into this movie that I realized this was the best experience I had ever had watching a Halloween movie. Easily. Because I did not know what I was getting. But also, I was super attached to every character that they had presented to me. They did a fantastic job of setting up these characters. Now, the memes that don't like this movie talk about how this is a story about Corey, and therefore it's just crap. Is Corey's last name Cunningham? Is that correct? Because that's the last name of the guy from Christine, a John Carpenter movie. The director of this movie, David Gordon Green, sent his script to John Carpenter and said, make sure this isn't too much like Christine. I think it's been brought up by everybody that it very much is like Christine. I think Michael Myers being the driving point of the plot, rather than being the movie, is a fantastic idea. I think they wanted to do this in 5. They wanted to do this in H2, showing what the survivors went through. And what I meant by part 5 is they wanted to have the evil transfer to somebody else, but they chickened out and didn't do it. And in this movie, they did it again. They chickened out. Now, Red Letter Media just did a video on this yesterday. They beat me to it because I'm lazy and high all the fucking time. This movie should have ended with Corey dying. That's it. It should have ended right there. I remember watching this because I've only seen it once. I feel like watching it again would be, helpful for this kind of thing, but I'm just going off of memory because the things that I'm seeing, they aren't legitimate arguments. They're not good arguments against this movie being good. This movie is good. You can't say it's not good. What you can say is it's not what you expected. It's not what's happened 12 times before. It's something else. And if it's not what you wanted going in, you're not maybe going to like it or accept it on the surface level. It's going to take some time between the last time you saw it and the next time you see it for you to appreciate it. Just like Halloween 3. When that thing came out, if the internet existed back then, I feel like it would have been worse. Although I'm sure the ads weren't like showing only the final 15 minutes and claiming that it was something else. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Michael Myers in this movie. He shouldn't be in it. There shouldn't be more. There should be less. Him under the bridge, fine. Corey stealing his mask and telling him he's just a man in a mask, beautiful. And that should be it with him. Him showing up randomly to Laurie's house makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Even if he got a little bit of energy from killing that guy in the sewer, that cop, and you could see it because he physically was getting stronger, why would he go after Laurie? It's already been established Laurie's not important to him. He was only brought there by Dr. Certain to fulfill his dumb idea. So there'd be no reason for him to go after Laurie to begin with. But in this movie, it's even dumber because how does he even know where Laurie is? He followed Corey there to get his mask back? My ass. That is studio interference. That is giving the people who are complaining about this movie what they wanted. Nonsense. Nonsense. And I'm glad they threw him in a grinder because that's like All right, enough. Enough. My biggest complaint with the first part of this trilogy, back when we reviewed it, before I changed my mind quite a bit on it, I'm not going to change my mind on the fact that I don't care about the storyline between Laurie and Michael at all. It's been done 4 times. Enough. So I didn't want to watch this because I'm like, what could they possibly do? Are they going to cut his head off? Are they going to cut Laurie's head off? I've already seen it. And they decided to do something else. And this movie hit me hard. I've already done a John Sequitur about a song by the band Brand New called Limousine, about a guy in New York who got drunk at a wedding, got in a car, and hit a little kid with his car while drunk, separating their body from their head. When the police and ambulance arrived on scene, the mother was holding the head of her decapitated child and refused to give it up. It's incredibly sad. But the comments below on the YouTube video of the song are all of these people talking about what a horrific, terrible, irredeemable person that drunk driver was. And it made me think, what about this person? Like, how can that be the only thing that anybody remembers about him? And then I realized that that's how it is in life. You've got to be careful and walk a very thin line, because if you cross over it, there's a chance the people who know you will only know you for your one misdeed, your one mistake, your one screw up. If you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and something happens, that's what you'll be known for. Now, this drunk driver obviously should not have driven drunk. That is the worst case scenario of what could happen if you drive drunk. Why was he drunk? Why was he drinking? What made him think he needed to drink? What made him believe he didn't need to get a ride? What had gotten him to that point where he got into the car and drove it? None of it mattered. Nothing that he did up until the point that he murdered that kid with his car mattered. Nothing that he would ever do after mattered. And that's what it is with Corey in this story. Everyone keeps saying what a good kid he was. Everyone keeps seeming to acknowledge that he was a good person until this happened. But no one can acknowledge that he is still a good kid. That it's possible that this was an accident, a mistake. And even if it was on purpose, it was 1 second out of his entire life. But that's who he is to these people now, and they will not let it go. Gathering themselves and fomenting themselves into basically a riot to try and kill Michael Myers in the last movie changed these people mentally to the point where they can't get out. They hit a point in their minds that they can't regress back from. They are angry and violent, and they need something to put their anger and violence towards. And he makes a mistake in the wrong place. Haddonfield is the wrong place to make a mistake. And he knows it, and he feels it, and he knows he's got to get out of there. And when he meets Allison, she's got the same thing. She's trying to recover. She wants to get out of there. The two of them want to get out. And I don't blame them, because that place is awful. Halloween Kills showed what this town was. Halloween Ends is about getting away from that and not being able to. Wanting to get away from it and not being able to. These movies work well together. The only part of this movie that I do not like is Michael Myers showing up at the end, because it makes no sense. It doesn't fit this story. I don't want more of him. I don't want more mindless guys stabbing people. John Carpenter wanted Michael Myers to be a personification of evil. That would mean evil is a force, invisible, moving from place to place. Something else tried this too. Jason Goes to Hell. I like that movie. It's the melting effects. It's not really the story that I like. It's the melting effects. But the idea of taking a non-tangible thing and moving it around from person to person is kind of what John Carpenter was going for. Michael Myers is a vessel for evil. Now Corey is a vessel for the same evil. That is John Carpenter's idea. Just because you stuck a guy in a mask doesn't mean anything. And Corey says it. He says, you're just a man in a mask. That's all Michael Myers is. And all these people who are like, why isn't he stabbing people and ending them? I want to go back to why David Lynch made Twin Peaks. Because victims are disposable. And he didn't like it. And he made Laura Palmer in an attempt to try and convince people that even in fiction, people are not disposable. But people threw a fit when he went and made Fire Walk with Me because it wasn't continuing some other story. It was showing that people have lives and they are not disposable. Not even Bucky. I would love to see a movie with just Bucky from Part 4.
What are you, deaf? Don't try that Halloween shit with me.
Slasher movies treat people like they are the untangible things. Like you want to make a character who's a stoner, so you just make his attributes that he gets stoned and forgets things. He has no other attributes about him. So when he's killed, you're like, haha, the stoner dies. Or the jerk, Trent, from the remake of Friday the 13th, part 12, whatever it is.
Nolan, how about I pay you pump? Sure, man. Hey, I give a wicked blowjob too. Okay, well, we'll try that out later.
The movie tries to show him as like this dickhead because he's bringing all these people who he seemingly isn't even friends with to his father's cabin to not let them have fun. But if you go back to the beginning of the movie when you first see him, he's in line behind a guy who won't get the fuck out of the way. Now, yeah, it turns out the guy is trying to find his lost sister, but communication would have brought that out. One of the problems with characters in slasher movies is they are incapable of conversation. They can't communicate with each other. And it's on purpose. Because if they communicated with each other, they would have more of an understanding of each other. Maybe of their pasts, maybe of their traumas, maybe of the things that made them the way that they are. But if they did that, then you wouldn't root for the villain. And if you didn't root for the villain, what would the movie even be? Who wants to watch Michael Myers stab people if you care about these people? You can't. The movie has to be simple. It has to be a bunch of stereotypes being murdered, not people. And I don't like that. I don't want my horror movies like that. I'm getting older and my tastes are changing. And I know change is scary. Very scary. Especially if that's the way it's always been. I love it when John Sequitur and Just Another Horror Podcast do one of these. Because that's what this movie has made it do. There's more to this movie than people want to see. There is. They want to see nameless, faceless stereotypes stabbed. There's stuff today about how it's the fictional Michael Myers' birthday. Happy birthday, we love you, they say. What has Michael Myers contributed to society? What has he done? He stabbed and mutilated over 150, or I think it's a total of 160 people throughout the series. You probably don't remember half of them. Do you remember Bucky? When I said Bucky, did you know who I meant? Halloween fan who disagrees with me? it worries me. It worries me that I'm a horror fan sometimes. Because I'm supposed to enjoy the roller coaster of watching people get murdered. And I do like the creative kills sometimes. I do like that sometimes. But it is not the only thing about horror that I like. This movie gives me so much. And I didn't think it was going to give me anything. I didn't want to watch it. Also, the Cramps are in this, and Dead Kennedys. So, I mean, that's just win-win for me right there, right? This is the best Halloween movie in the series. I shouldn't say Halloween movie. This is the best movie in the series. If you want to complain that it's titled Halloween, that's fine. If you want to complain that Michael Myers is either in it not enough or too much, I'm siding with you on the too much, that's fine. But this movie's not a bad movie. Maybe it's not a Halloween movie, but it's not a bad movie.